It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
George.
Wow, that would be me. You caught me. Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. Today we are at our respective homes. I'll let somebody else explain that later. But let me just say about the weather, it's ugly. Bad news is it apparently is going to rain not only for the rest of today, but a 90% chance of rain tomorrow. So that's not all good. Anyway, let us check in right off the bat, go to Murfreesboro, and say hello to Kelly Holcomb. Kelly, how are you?
I'm good, George. How you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
Got to have rain, man. We got to have rain. Why are you upset about the rain?
I'm not really upset about it, but I mean, it'd be nice to see the sun.
Yeah, but it doesn't rain here for months, and then when it rains, we got to rain. We got to get it. We got to get some.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
Thank
Since
you.
you're a meteorologist for 10 seconds every day on the show.
Absolutely. Let's check in with Billy. Billy, how are you?
I'm good, George. How are you?
You seem a little disheveled.
I am. So at our house, we have our driveway basically stops into our backyard, not the biggest backyard. And last night pulling in, I kind of felt, okay, that this is not going to be great tomorrow. And I didn't it's my mistake. I should not have parked in the back today or last night. So my car's stuck. Going to try to get a tow truck over. And yeah, it's not good. Not good. It's not a good feeling because I tried it. And, when you get that feeling, it's like, this ain't going anywhere. That's an awful feeling. So
are we going to be at home tomorrow as well? I mean, are you going to be able to get it out? I mean, can we call a wrecker or something?
I think we'll be all right. I think we should. Oh, the odds of us being in studio tomorrow, I think are high. So I
are quite good.
Okay.
Although we'll see.
Okay, Billy, I'm guessing that given the struggles that we've had over the last hour, that I may need to help you with the update. Would that be true?
No, I mean, I kind of scrounged one together, George, but I know we're going to talk Titans with Terry, but they have promoted Rand Carthon, which I thought was interesting, to executive vice president. And of course he's still general manager, but Chad Brinker has been promoted to president of football operations. And of course, Brian Callahan has been hired as their next head coach. Press conference will be at 1:00 tomorrow, not today, but tomorrow. So wanted to get that out there. I'm sure we'll get into all that with Terry. But Jim Harbaugh, of course, in the news with the Chargers. Nothing's official there yet, but there was a report out just within the last 10 minutes that Michigan has updated its contract offer to Jim Harbaugh. And the deal would ensure that he's the highest paid coach in college football. And there's a big piece of language regarding 2 NCAA investigations. So
what is the language?
Not sure. That's what I saw. Apparently there's a big piece of language. So
well, I bet there is.
So yeah, Michigan apparently is trying to keep Harbaugh. So
well, here's the deal. The question is the San Diego thing good enough for him to say, screw dealing with the NCAA? Because I think we all agree this is his last football job, whatever it may be. And, if he can avoid the Committee on Stupidity, then why not? See the beginning of it. Give us your full name. I'm Jim Harbaugh, you stupid.
That's a pretty good description.
Yeah, Committee on Stupidity.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know I just, I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure there's language in there because if he does get caught with all that stuff, I'm sure they've got their self a way out of that contract. I'm sure. So, I don't know. I just think he wants to go to the NFL. That's just me.
So if they're playing that game with him, he's got to sit there and say, look, who's kidding who? Have I been involved in stuff? Sure. So I guess the fact that they have maybe upped the ante, if they've put in contractual language to protect from cheating, whatever, I mean, aren't we past that? Don't we pretty well know? I mean, this guy, Connor Stallions, God rest his soul. I mean, do we just think that all happened just out of nowhere?
It's funny how all that stuff, though, when you win a national championship, all that stuff kind of just fades away. It just goes away. Nobody's talking about it anymore.
As a song that I used to like said, ghosts appear and fade away.
They do.
So, my gut feeling, Billy, is that ramping up of Michigan's offer will not mean a lot because in the background is this other thing. He and Ward Manuel do not like each other. Ward Manuel was the one who, when he was sort of down, getting the crap kicked out of him by Ohio State, made him go with a deal where he took less pay. Now he's got the upper hand, and my guess is he's going to show Ward Manuel, I have the upper hand.
Yeah, I don't really. I mean, obviously, there's a report out there that Michigan's trying to retain him, but the NFL's the NFL. I mean, Kelly, the especially nowadays the amount of those contracts, it's probably tough to turn those down in and of itself. So we'll see where this goes.
I don't know if that truly motivates. I talked to one of my friends that coached with him for a little bit up there and then took another job. And I don't know if that really motivates Harbaugh. I mean, he's made a lot of money so far. He played in the NFL for a long time. He's coached for a long time. He's made enough. So he's got enough money. Like at some point, you get like the Nick Sabans, the Bill Belichick, like you just want to coach. Like, is that your ultimate goal is to get paid more, or do you want to win and win big and win a Super Bowl? And I think that's kind of, I would think that's where he's at. Just knowing him just a little bit in my life for about 3 years. I mean, I think that's probably his motivating factor.
Billy, I think it's fair to say he's a different bird, and he's not anything like his father. I've known his father for years. I'm a big fan of Jack Harbaugh. I've never met Jim, and I've never met John. And to be honest, John and Jim don't seem very much alike to me.
Yeah, they're not. They're a little different. They're a little different. And Jim is strong. He's high strung now. He definitely it goes to the beat of his own drum. That's for sure.
Well, down in Atlanta, we know, we talked a lot about Arthur Blank and what he might do. Mike Vrabel is at the Falcons facility today to interview for the head coaching job. So Vrabel and I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this name right, Ejiro Evero with Atlanta today. Jim Harbaugh was and still is tentatively set for a second meeting on Thursday.
Now, wait a minute. What's the name that was hard to pronounce?
Ejiro Evero.
What's his story in this?
Well, he is the Panthers. I think he was with the Panthers, but the Falcons completed an interview with him. I hadn't known of him. It was just in Tom Pelissero's tweet. So yeah, and then Bobby Slowick too. So Atlanta is kind of all across the board here.
Yeah, that Carolina one will sell tickets. We welcome you to a coach who's come off the worst team in pro football. That'll get them excited.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Was it his fault?
Oh, I don't know. Look, a lot of this, and you know this, Kelly, Dan Quinn, a year and a half ago, everybody was frothing over, Dan Quinn.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now that Dallas, pooped the bed in the Green Bay game and looked completely lost, old Dan doesn't seem as hot. It's phony as
No, he does not.
Get out. But, Billy, it's like I've always said, when Joe Torre got hired by the Yankees, that was about the 5th managerial job he'd had. Mets, Braves, Cardinals, Angels, and then all of a sudden the Yankees. And the New York press ripped him. Well, how'd that one work out? So about the time you're certain, and about the time smart aleck me makes some comment about, boy, that'll sell tickets, be careful. I'm talking to me. Be careful.
Well, also, of course, we got the championship games on Sunday. Apparently, Deebo Samuel does not have a fracture in his shoulder, but the Niners still don't know yet whether they will have him available. But I guess that's good news there. No fracture, but he looked to be in a lot of pain, and am I right? Didn't play in most of that game.
He got hurt in the first quarter. Yeah,
Kelly. The problem with that seems to be that Brock Purdy plays a lot better when he's around
on the field. Yes, absolutely.
Why do you think that is? Because it's not like they lack for weapons, even if he's not there.
He's just the ultimate yak yards guy. I mean, they've got a bunch of that on the team, but Juwan Jennings, he's going to catch the ball, but he's not a guy that can run away from folks. But like Deebo Samuel, you can give him one of those wide receiver screens and he can take it to the house. It's not a very hard throw for the quarterback, but you saw how important he was to the San Francisco 49ers when he was out for 3 games in the middle of the season. They lost all 3 games. So you're absolutely right. There's guys like that. I mean, you bring up Dennis Northcutt. I always had a vibe with Dennis, man. I just knew where he was going. Deebo Samuel seems like he's kind of the same guy for Brock Purdy. He knows what he's going to do. It might not be a call play, but he just feels it, and he is definitely important to Brock Purdy and the 49ers.
Boy, I would love to meet Dennis Northcutt and find out what that's all about. By the way, Kelly, this is for you.
Oh gosh, nobody. Hey, that's in a day long gone, George. Turn the page. It's about what have you done for me lately, homie?
We got to the playoffs.
I know, and you had the best team in Major League Baseball last year, and then you stunk it up when it counted the most. So it doesn't matter. But you called it. You called it.
Yes. Billy,
right.
Let me throw one more in. Predators have signed forward Cole Smith to a 2-year, $2 million extension.
Good for Cole Smith.
Yeah.
Also, you had a big night in that.
Stuck in a ditch.
No, he didn't. You got that right.
Yeah.
Last night, Kentucky lost at South Carolina in SEC action, 79-62. A&M beat Missouri. You got 4 games tonight. Auburn and Alabama, 6:30 on ESPN. So
if you're going to pick one game tonight to watch, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that one rises above. I'm looking at a list here. I think that one rises above that Nevada-Colorado State game.
I'd say so, yeah.
Do they even play basketball?
They do.
Wow.
Expand your horizons a little.
Sorry.
Well, back to baseball. Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, and Joe Mauer are headed to the Baseball Hall of Fame. And obviously Helton, being from Knoxville, played high school baseball in Knoxville, actually played football at Tennessee, was coached by David Cutcliffe at Tennessee. He was in that room with Peyton Manning, if I'm not mistaken. And initially, of course, he didn't stick with football. But pretty incredible that Todd Helton, Knoxville kid, one of only 2 SEC players, along with the big hurt Frank Thomas, to get elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame. Kind of crazy with all these great SEC players. There's only 2, Helton and Thomas. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Raphael Palm. Oh, that's right. We got some steroids.
got some baggage.
Yeah, Will Clark, the same thing, isn't it?
Yep.
I've never heard Will Clark in that vein at all.
Well, early in his career, really good, but I think was he a steroid guy too?
I've never heard that.
Okay.
Let me say this. I'm thrilled for Todd Helton. I've met Todd Helton. Seems like a really good guy. Man, I know this as a player. He was a damn line drive machine.
Yeah.
And out in Colorado, he raked. Good for him.
Yeah. I thought it was cool late in his career, too, to be able to be when Peyton got to Denver. Him and Peyton were playing in the same city.
Yeah.
From the same college. I always thought that was cool. So congrats to Todd Helton, and that'll wrap up the update.
Okay.
All I know is this. Hey, George, let me just say this. All I know is this. Is when I was in high school, my senior year, everybody was talking about Todd Helton and Kippy Bayless and them old boys from Lincoln County went to Neyland Stadium, tore that butt up.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Okay, let me throw back in your face what you threw at me just moments ago. Okay, it's yesterday's news. Who gives a damn?
That's awesome.
That was so much
fun, George,
saying that, but that's a heck of an accomplishment. So you all played them in the playoffs?
Yeah, we played them in the semifinals in Neyland Stadium.
Did you really?
We did, yeah, we did. We beat them 28-14. Yeah, they were ranked like in the country. He could throw the ball. I mean, he ran around a bunch. I actually played with his running back in college, and I remember after the game when we beat those guys, all of our guys went down and just ripped all their signs off because they were calling us hillbillies and all this, and we went up there and whipped that rear end for them.
Were you all a bunch of hillbillies?
Oh, I mean, we're from Fayetteville, man. I mean, what do you expect? I mean,
we're from Fayetteville, Tennessee, George. Come on.
We're country as cornbread down there, man. Come on now.
Okay, we're off to a great start. I like the vibe of the show early. Terry McCormick's going to join us after the break, and we're going to ask the questions, what does everything mean, in particular on Rand Carthon, because there's some very specific language in there about roster control and blah, 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 and it looks like collaborative went out the window. Old Rand appears to be the one that has the power. As for Chad Brinker, I couldn't tell you a thing, but Terry can, and he will join us after the break.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. Hello there. Welcome back on this ugly Wednesday afternoon. I'm going to read to you the description before we bring Terry McCormick from Main Street Media in. Here is the wording of the promotion that Ran Carthon has received. As Executive Vice President / General Manager, Carthon's duties will expand to include all areas that impact the football team: roster control, team activities, and personnel decisions, including draft and free agent acquisitions, oversight of Callahan and his coaching staff, scouting, sports medicine, and player engagement. Let's bring Terry McCormick in to talk a little bit about all this. Terry, it looks to me like all that collaboration crap has gone out the window.
Well, certainly Ran Carthon looks a lot more powerful today than he did a couple of weeks ago when he had his press conference and didn't reveal a whole lot. That title of Executive Vice President / General Manager, that's been handed out a couple times since they've been here. Floyd Reese had it at one time. John Robinson had it at one time. I'm trying to remember if Mike Reinfeldt or Rustin Webster ever had that title during their time as general manager. But basically what it means is say so over personnel, and it sounds like he also is going to have the authority over the coaching staff, at least for the time being.
Tell us about Chad Brinker.
Well, Chad Brinker is a guy that came in here last year, shortly after Ran Carthon was hired. He was brought in as an assistant general manager and served in that role underneath Carthon. He's still going to be underneath Carthon's overseeing, but he's now president of football operations. And some of what that is going to entail is still overseeing the analytics department, overseeing security, communications, overseeing all kinds of things that don't directly maybe relate to football, but he's also going to keep his hand in the scouting department as well.
Okay, Terry, tomorrow we're going to learn more about Brian Callahan with the press conference scheduled for around 1 o'clock. I'm sure this has kind of run through your mind as Brian Callahan steps in. What players really benefit from this hire? And in your opinion, are there players that absolutely do not benefit from this hire?
Well, it's certainly a good question. I think at the top of the list, obviously, is Will Levis as far as those who benefit, because I think this is a sign that they're at least going to give him the opportunity to show that he can be a franchise type quarterback. He'll get a year or two to do that. And they're hoping to see significant improvement and also an upgrade to the weapons around him. I also think it's probably a good sign for a guy like Tajay Spears, who's probably going to be their number one back now. And then maybe a new lease on life for a guy like Traylon Burks, who certainly struggled in his first 2 years. Now, I don't think that's going to preclude them from going out and adding some badly needed wide receiver help, but I think it does at least put Traylon Burks in an offense that where the pass is going to be featured more so than the run, and will give him an opportunity, if he can stay healthy, to earn himself a role here. As far as guys that it doesn't fit or whatever, I think, you're probably looking at some of the guys, a lot, the offensive linemen were probably going to be, some of them were going to be jettisoned anyway. But it makes me wonder about a guy like Danico Autry, who had a very productive season as an edge rusher and defensive lineman for this team, put up a career high, I think 11 and a half sacks. He's a free agent. He's 33 years old, and that's certainly not an age that you want to try and build around. But with what was already here in Mike Vrabel and Shane Bowen, those guys knew him, knew how hard he worked, knew how productive he was. Now they're gone. So a guy like Autry might not get the benefit of that doubt going forward. And it might be a situation where, he winds up with an opportunity somewhere else rather than coming back here, unless there's somebody like Carthon who was already in the building that really wants to go to bat for him.
Billy, let's bring Kelly into this as well. Hello, Kelly.
What's up?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, George.
Terry, everything I hear is that Brian Callahan tomorrow will absolutely ace the press conference. He's got the answers to hello. He's a very good talker, and that, from a media and fan standpoint, we're all going to like that. Now, once that thing is over and he gets into the coach's office and all of a sudden he doesn't have the kind of weapons offensively that he had in Cincinnati, how do you think he handles that? Because when you look past DeAndre Hopkins, there's virtually nothing from the wide receiver core. You got a big question mark around Chig Okonkwo, and you've got Derrick Henry in la nebulous land. Talk to me about some of this. And Kelly, feel free to butt into this as well.
Well, George, I think the first thing he does is he's going to have to, and I'm sure he's already done some of this or he wouldn't have accepted the job, is just kind of assess exactly where the roster is and what this guy can do, what this guy can't do, those sorts of things, and see where some of the pieces fit. Obviously, armed with about $85 million in cap space, they're going to be able to target some free agents to help bolster this roster in certain areas of need. Like you mentioned, wide receiver, offensive line is certainly near the top of that list, and cornerback and safety would also be areas that have to be addressed. So they're going to have to go out and find some free agents. They're going to have to go out and hit on some draft picks for a change, and not do like they did at the end of John Robinson's tenure in the post-COVID time period, where they missed on first and second round picks in 3 straight years. And that's kind of what put them behind the 8 ball here in the first place. I think if you're Brian Callahan, you start to just assess who fits, who doesn't, and where can I find more guys who do fit? And I think that's probably job one right after he begins to fill out his coaching staff, is getting with Rand Carthon and evaluating who it is they want to target and where it is that they want to go, and how many guys on this team can actually play a role, and what they're going to ask them to be able to do going forward, the guys that are already under contract.
So, Kelly, you hear – go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think one thing that the old regime did was give them a lot of salary cap space. I mean, I think they've got money to go out and spend to get, and that's what this game is about. You've got to go out and you have to spend money on some free agents. And I think if they do that, like, I asked a guy from Cincinnati yesterday, Terry, but like, why not T. Higgins? I mean, I understand T. Higgins is he's playing with Joe Burrow, but like he made, just like this guy told us yesterday, Jamar Chase is the number one guy. Well, he might want to come to Tennessee and be the number one guy because I think DeAndre Hopkins, he's getting up there in years. He's obviously here for another year, but like that would be a guy that I would go after because he's a Tennessee guy. He's from Oak Ridge. So I think he would love coming here, being under the offensive coordinator or the guy that he's kind of familiar with, being from Cincinnati.
Sure, I don't see why not. I mean, he's a free agent. Tyler Boyd also up there is a free agent as well. And then there are a lot of guys around the league. This is a good year for free agent wide receivers. There's Michael Pittman Jr., Mike Evans, if he were to decide to leave Tampa Bay, although it sounds like they want to keep him. Calvin Ridley, Jawan Jennings. The list goes on and on. There are different types of receivers that you can find out there, and we're certainly going to see a different type of wide receiver on this roster than what we've seen over the past, 6, 7, 8 years. It's not going to matter as much if they can go block down the field to spring a running back for a bigger gain. It's going to matter, can they run a route, create some separation, catch the football, and then do something with it once they've caught it. I think that's where this is all going. This team is finally going to jump into 2024 as opposed to being stuck in 1986.
All a very new concept for Titans fans, by the way.
1986 was a good year. I was young and thin. So, Terry, is this a good year in free agency for offensive linemen?
It's never really a great year in free agency for offensive linemen most of the time because the best offensive linemen don't get to free agency. Am I right, Kelly?
You're absolutely right. That's what I was going to say. They never get there.
There are a few guys. One guy that's up there in Cincinnati is former Alabama tackle Jonah Williams. He's a free agent. Yeah. That may be somebody you could plug in as a right tackle, but I think you have to find your left tackle in the draft. You might be able to find a center to tide you over in the interim. They've been able to do that a few times, like with Ben Jones and Kevin Mawai back in the past. Centers you can find in free agency, guards you can find in free agency, but tackles, as a general rule, you want to draft and develop those guys and keep them around for, multiple years, 5, 6, 7 years if you can.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Well, I mean, I was just going to ask the T. Higgins deal. What I was thinking about yesterday, Terry, was I don't know how the interview went, but it seems to me like they've got offensive line problems. And Brian Callahan's dad, Bill, been in the league a long time, been a very good offensive line coach, been an offensive coordinator, been a head coach. Don't you think that was kind of reassuring when, Amy Adams-Strunk and Rand Carthon was talking to him? They always knew that, hey, this is a young guy, but they've got a lot of experience through his dad. Don't you think that was reassuring to those folks?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that, they'll probably make a play to try to lure Bill Callahan down here with him if they can. Now, he's under contract with the Browns, and Jimmy Haslett and the people who run the Browns organization might frown upon letting one of the league's better offensive line coaches walk away. But I do expect that the Titans would probably at least inquire about allowing Bill Callahan to join his son's staff here with the Titans.
Yeah. What other? You said about some of the free agents. What other free agents you think they may go after, or what is their? I mean, obviously we need some offensive linemen. Obviously they need some guys on the defensive side of the ball. But are they some big name free agents that they go after on the defensive side?
Well, I think there's probably some decent guys, something along the same lines of what they went out there and signed last year with guys like Sean Murphy-Bunting or Azeez Al-Shaair. There's always, there'll always be a few guys that you can go out and get, but then, there again, cover corners don't grow on trees, and cover corners don't usually get to the free agent market unless there's something wrong with them. It's not like, inside linebackers, which do seem to get to the market and you can fill spots there, and safeties. Cover corner is one of those 3 or 4 really prime positions, like quarterback, like left tackle, like, wide receiver 1, edge rusher. The corners, the best ones rarely ever get to the market unless they've got some age on them. And I think they're probably going to have to spend at least one draft pick on a corner, and then probably also have to delve into the free agent market, and it makes you wonder too, if a guy who was kind of, written off under Vrabel, a guy like Christian Fulton, the talent is there. Would a guy like, Brian Callahan and whoever he hires as a defensive coordinator, would he say, hey, maybe we can get something out of this guy that the previous regime didn't? Maybe you look at that, because there probably aren't going to be a whole lot more corners out there on the free agent market that would be a lot more talented than what Christian Fulton is in terms of just pure skill.
I mean, are you hearing anything? I know this is very early in the process, but are you hearing about any coaches that he may bring with him? I mean, is he going to pluck any from the Bengals coaching staff, or what his thoughts are heading with the staff?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see what he does. I think he may bring a couple of lower level guys there. I know some people have been talking about Dan Pitcher, but I think that the Bengals may go with him as their offensive coordinator. And if not, then he might be brought here as an offensive coordinator. Another guy that was mentioned as a possible OC, and I think Brian Callahan's going to be the play caller, is the guy that interviewed for the head coaching job there from Carolina, Thomas Brown. Now, obviously, he's got the Panthers stain on his resume that George so eloquently referred to in the update. But I think a lot of people feel like the guy's a capable football coach. He came from the Sean McVay system with the Rams. Another name that might be out there in terms of finding a spot on this staff, how about Liam Cohen, who did wonders with Will Levis when the two were at Kentucky together. And then there's also the thought that they might retain a couple of guys off the Vrabel staff. The two that come to mind for me would be Charles London, the quarterback's coach, and Terrell Williams, the defensive line coach. I think defensive coordinator-wise, a name that's cropped up that might be a possibility, and this guy has been around a long time, and I think it's a good idea for a young first-time head coach to have somebody with experience on the side of the ball that he's not as well versed in. Some people are talking about Wink Martindale, a longtime Ravens defensive coordinator, and most recently with the Giants, as somebody who has connections to Callahan that might be worth a look.
So, Terry, let me go back for a minute before we end this. When Rand Carthon came to town, I mean, we've heard it ad nauseum, collaboration. Okay, then all of a sudden it starts getting out in November that collaboration is a pile of dog crap, and they're battling each other. Okay, I think we know that there were a lot of things about that report that turned out to be true. So did Amy just pluck this title out of thin air and say, this is what I want you to have? Or did Carthon go to her and say, okay, now that we got rid of Godzilla, I want to run this place? How do you think this went down?
I don't know. I'm to be honest with you, I don't know, but my guess is this. I think with Mike Vrabel having made the play to want to control the roster, to want to be in a situation where, he had more power here, and when that didn't work out, I think Amy Adams Strunk looked around and she saw that Rand Carthon had kind of been the good soldier here, that he had brought her a quarterback that, of the future in last year's draft, that he had gone out and found a coach who fit the description of what she wants for taking this team in the direction of being a more pass-oriented offense and developing that quarterback. And I think those sorts of things, along with the need that somebody needs to have final say here and somebody needs to be, the point person in this entire organization. I think those are the things that probably nudge toward making Rand Carthon that guy.
This seems early, and I'm not well, I guess I am second guessing a little bit. In year 2 of a person being in that building, that seems like a lot, doesn't it?
It does, but then, knowing that she wasn't going to go out and hire a Jim Harbaugh or a Bill Belichick or somebody that, loaded with experience, and probably knowing that a guy like Dan Quinn would have been a little harder sell to the fan base than a young up-and-coming offensive mind who's going to be a first-time head coach. I don't know that she really had a whole lot of other choice than to go with the guy who's been there the longest in Rand Carthon, especially if he's delivered what it is that she's wanted in terms of a quarterback and a head coach and a guy who's willing to, pass the credit around and listen to and work with the other people around him like he apparently has with Chad Brinker and the scouts and like he apparently is going to do with Brian Callahan.
Okay, you'll love this question because it's a question I'm going to ask. I don't think you can answer it. You ready?
Sure.
Who came in second?
Who came in second?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a good question. That's a good question. I don't know that I can answer it. My guess might have been either Aaron Glenn or Bobby Slowick or maybe Mike McDonald.
Yeah. By the way, if you can hear my phone in the background, it says scam likely.
Scam likely. Wow.
Yeah, it's about the 18th of these I've gotten today. So thanks to all
Answer it and see what it says. It might be some Nigerian prince leaving you $1 million. All you got to do is give him your bank account.
That's the guy Jerry Jones used to hang around with, Bandar. Remember Bandar?
Hold my breath on that one.
I think this means probably the interview's over.
Probably so, George.
Thank you. Unless anybody has anything, Billy, you got anything?
Well, I did want to ask Terry about the difference in mindset and kind of, philosophy. Obviously, we know it's going to be different between Vrabel and Callahan, but Mike Vrabel's MO was, we're not going to shy away from anybody. We're going to hit you in the mouth. We're going to run the football. Titans might be in for a rude awakening if they steer too far away from that. I'm not saying they are, but do you think Brian Callahan still has that sense of, he's an NFL coach, but, do you think that makes a difference with the mentality and the mindset here, or that this is where the Titans want to go and they're fine with kind of shedding the Vrabel way?
I think they're fine with shedding the Vrabel way. But that said, I think, you still got to have the run game as a complement. Joe Mixon's been a multiple-time 1,000-yard rusher up there with the Bengals, even though everybody knows the offense goes through Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So there's still a place for the run game. It's just not going to be crammed down everybody's throat like it has been for the last 8 or 10 years here.
Terry, it'll be interesting to hear what we hear tomorrow. Until then, thank you. And remember the question, who came in second?
Who came in second?
Talk to you soon.
See ya.
Okay, after the break, we'll see if Kelly knows who came in second.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications, and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com. And be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
There's a lot to digest right now in Titans land, and certainly we'll get more answers tomorrow as to where all this feels like it's headed. What's your sense of all of it?
I don't know. I think it's headed in a good direction. He's a good young coach. I would definitely try to go after my dad as the O-line coach. I would. I would certainly think that. I know this is a business, and I know he's still under contract, is what Terry said for the Cleveland Browns. But I would think you would want a guy to coach with his son. So I just, I don't know. I see all this, and everywhere his track record has been, you've seen improvement by the quarterback. I mean, he was with Matthew Stafford in Denver. He was with Peyton out he was Matthew Stafford in Detroit, and he was with Peyton in Denver. He got those guys playing well. If you look at his resume, every quarterback that he's taken over, they've had a better year the year after. So I think this is huge, and I think that's what you're kind of looking for if you're the owner of a team that's got a young quarterback that you think can fill that role that hadn't been here for a while. I think you go out and get a guy that is offensive-minded and that has worked with a lot of big-name quarterbacks and has kind of helped them on in their career. So I think that's why you go after Brian Callahan, because of what he knows on the offensive side of the ball and his track record with quarterbacks.
The early returns on Will Levis, to me, are promising. Yeah. They're not, oh my God, we've got it, there's no question we do. case closed, but
Right.
it's promising. So given that as a backdrop, what do you think he can do to help Levis? Or what can his offensive coordinator do to help Levis? And do you think it's an important deal to bring Liam Cohen in here?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know anything about him, so I'm not sure. But I think that he can help him. Obviously, with what he's done in the past, he can help those guys elevate their levels of success. I mean, I think that he can teach him the NFL game. How you can't just. You got to be prepared when you come to the National Football League. Every game is a test, and you get a quiz every Sunday or every Monday or Thursday or whatever day we play now in the NFL. But during the week you got to study. You've got to get your mind right. You've got to get your body right. You got to know what the other team's doing to you. And I certainly think that he can help him with that. The question that I have with Will Levis is I think the guy can play, and I think that Brian Callahan and his offensive coordinator will certainly help him fundamentally. I've talked about, his arm being down, but his injury problems, man, he was injured at Kentucky quite a bit, his last year. And then this past year, he had some lingering deals go on. So, I mean, you've got to be reliable when you're a quarterback. You have to be there each and every day. And just like my man Tom Moore talked about when I talked to him, these guys got to learn how to protect the quarterbacks. And I think with him being around Peyton, I think he understands that. I think he gets that. I think they got that with Joe Burrow at Cincinnati, because they didn't have a very good offensive line, but some of the things that they did were able to allow Joe Burrow to get the ball out of his hand quick. So you've got to be reliable. You've got to be able to stay on the field. If they're putting this much stock into you and invest this much money into you, I know he's still on his rookie contract, but if he comes out and he plays well this year, he'll be up for it. But you've got to be on the field for your team. They have to know that you're going to be a consistent contributor to the team each and every week, and you got to stay out of the training room. And right now, man, he had some lingering things last year, and that just kind of puts up a red flag for me. I think they've got a good young stallion, that's here, but can you keep him healthy enough to stay on the field?
Okay, let me counter that. Ryan Tannehill, tough as nails, could not stay out of injury behind that offensive line. And if he couldn't, because he's tough as nails, look, you can have your complaints about certain things about him, but don't ever let anybody tell you Ryan Tannehill isn't one tough cookie. So given that, how can you hold that on Will Levis?
I'm not saying you do hold it on him. I'm just saying that he's had that kind of problem when he was in college and when he was here. Now, I mean, quarterbacks are not built that way. You can't take that beating over and over and over again. Just like when they were playing the Miami Dolphins and he threw that pick and he tried to tackle that guy when he was already in the end zone. Okay, we know you're a tough kid. We know you're very competitive, but you got to be smart. You're in the National Football League. And now those guys on the defensive side of the ball are trained killers, man. They're coming after you. So they've got to get better up front. We know that. We've talked about that. I mean, I think they might have maybe one or two, true offensive linemen in the National Football League, but they're going to have to go out and they're going to have to get like maybe a Jonah Williams for, Cincinnati. And like Terry said, put him on the right side of the ball and then go out and get the kid from Notre Dame if you're there. You've got to get some offensive linemen. And when you get some, you got to keep them. So it was definitely not his fault. That just worries me because I got hit a bunch too, and you just got to stay in there. And it's just a
fair deal.
It's a worry that I have.
Okay, Billy, let's give you a little airtime here.
Here we go.
Yeah. Did you see who just came on the market?
No. Oh, are you talking about Vic Fangio?
A damn good defensive coordinator.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
I did see where the Eagles are the favorite to land him. where the experts expect him to land in Philly, is what I'm hearing. So,
did he get let go from Miami?
Quote, part ways.
They parted ways.
Oh, really? I was with Vic Fangio in Indianapolis when he was when I was with the Colts a long, long time ago. He's very smart about the defensive side of the ball. There's no question about that.
A hell of a lot worse than Vic Fangio. Anyway, hour number 1 is done. Tomorrow, the press conference is at 1, and we're going to try when we come on the air at 2 to let you hear as much of it as possible, because this is an important issue for this franchise in particular, given that they're, 3 to 4 years away from the new Dome Stadium. When we come back, stat of the day, we'll do our best. That may not be good enough. And then Taylor Barnette will join us. And, then I may show Taylor that as well. He needs to know this.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
Top of the hour on a Wednesday, talking college hoops with Taylor Barnette coming up. But first, stat of the day brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. You can find them out in Shelbyville. There you go. As we get this Matthew stat of the day ready to go. All right, we're going baseball for George and Kelly. Here we go. Looks like Joe Mauer is involved here. There it is. On Tuesday, Mauer became just the third catcher in MLB history to be inducted into the Hall of Fame on their first ballot, joining what 2 catchers?
Okay, Kelly, obviously we're going to go Johnny Bench.
Johnny Bench.
Other candidates would be Yogi Berra, Roy Campanella.
Would Mike Piazza be one?
Mm-mm.
No.
No.
Okay. All right. You're the guy on this one.
Okay. Let's Johnny Bench.
Yogi Berra.
Yogi Berra should have been. If he wasn't first ballot, what the hell is wrong with the ballot? Let's see it.
All right. It's Johnny Bench.
Pudge
Rodriguez.
Wow.
Vaughn Rodriguez. Wow.
When did that nickname Pudge start? Or how?
I don't know, but
That's
whoever
awesome.
put it on him better have been damn sure that it would go over okay.
Yeah, it sounds like something Kelly would slap on one of his teammates making fun of him.
Oh, no doubt. I would definitely have hit him up with that. Pudge.
Again, you got to be sure, fella. You got to be sure that person's okay with that.
Have to.
Yeah. So is Taylor available?
Yes, he is.
What's up, guys?
Hello, Taylor.
Taylor, what's up?
Taylor, I remember how bothered you were. I took Kelly. I want to put Kelly back in here.
Mm-hmm.
Kelly, I took Taylor to a Preds game, a playoff game that I could have sold the ticket and made hundreds of dollars. We get in the building. It's about an hour before game time. Very electric atmosphere. Third round against Anaheim. And the newspaper had just done this story about the fact that a group of us 5 years earlier had stepped up. And a woman came up to me that Taylor thought was a setup, but it absolutely was not. And she said, I want to thank you for helping save the team. And Taylor looks at this woman and says, did he set you up to do this? And her reaction was just, well, no, we've never met before. So Taylor, just for you, here's what that night looked like. That's Governor Bredesen telling that termite Jim Ball Silly to get his damn hands off our team. And that's what it looked like that night.
Man.
Yeah, so there.
All because of you, George.
Right. Taylor, why in the world would you go? Taylor, why in the world would you go anywhere with George? Can you explain that to me?
Hey, man, invite to the Preds playoff game. I couldn't say no to that.
You were not invited. You put a phone call in begging.
I don't remember that.
Oh, you do remember it. May 7th of 2017. I had just come from a birthday party, and I've come out. They've just beaten St. Louis in the second round. I'm pumped. I get home. I see a message, and the message said, I would be honored to go with you to a game in the third round. Well, Taylor had turned me down when I invited him to a regular season game. Mm-hmm. And so, he was kind of
playoff snob.
Yeah, regular season snob.
Wow.
Yeah. So that
I think differently of you now, Taylor. I'm sorry, man. I apologize.
Here's another one for you, Taylor.
Oh, gosh.
That's something you haven't seen in Cincinnati in a while.
Nobody cares, George.
You're right. Let's move on to the Arkansas Razorbacks. They are the biggest mystery out there right now. Give me your theory, because mine cynically is there's something going on in that locker room.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing. I would say, watching them, the word that comes to mind is definitely disconnected. I think that they have a lot of talent. Now, I will say, I do think they had more talent last year. Ricky Council was a really good player. Mm-hmm. Anthony Black, elite level player, first round pick. Nick Smith Jr. didn't play a lot last year, but did towards the end of the year, first round pick. Jordan Walsh, 5-star recruit, second round pick. So I will say, I think they were more talented last year. Although I do think they have a lot of talent this year. I think this is also a product of the portal. If 3 of those guys I name are 5-star recruits, they had the number 1 or the number 2 recruiting class in the country 2 years ago. This year is like number 30. So they took a chance. They didn't have as many high school kids that were 5-star recruits, and they were really talented. They took a chance in the portal, in NIL. And sometimes I feel like this is what happens is you get a group of guys that maybe were the best player on their team, have been in college for a few years. And then you got to try to mesh them all together once again for Arkansas basketball to play together as a team. So when I watch them play, I agree with you. I don't know what's going on in the locker room, but it looks like they're disconnected.
Where I came to that conclusion, Taylor, they'd gotten off to a slow start in the conference, and then they get the win against Texas A&M, which I think is a really good basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
And so Saturday they play a South Carolina that is like Georgia, very improved, but play with nothing. I just thought they brought nothing to the table. And in the second half, they're down double digits the entire half. I'm like, this is not Bud Walton Arena. Bud Walton Arena, the real Arkansas, would have South Carolina holding on for dear life at the end. And instead, there was nothing.
Yeah. I think a little bit too, this Arkansas team, those guys guarded last year. I think they had like a top 20 defense according to KenPom last year. I think it was 17th. This year, I think it's maybe like over 100. They're not really guarding, and I think that it's dictated by when they don't play well offensively, they don't guard, and that's really tough because some nights the ball is just not going to go in the hole. But you got to continue to dig in on the defensive end and guard and get stops. That's the way that you win those grinded out conference SEC games. And so I think when things aren't going their way offensively, their effort level and their energy level and their ability to guard, it goes down.
Billy, if you will, put the graphic up there of where Lenardi has SEC teams right now. And I included Memphis in this. Any thoughts off of that right now, or do you think he's got it exactly where it ought to be?
I think Ole Miss, I think they've taken a little bit of a toll lately. I think they're starting to play good teams. I don't think they're as good as everybody thought they were. I could see them trending down a little bit more. Kentucky, I think they could be I don't know. I think they could be a 1 seed, maybe a 2 seed. I saw Auburn play last week in person, actually. I didn't realize how deep they were and how experienced they are. They're a really good ball team. Tennessee, Dalton Knecht continues to prove himself. They're experienced. They're huge. He can really score. I think those 3 teams at the top, Tennessee, Auburn, and Kentucky, are really good, and they're legit. I think we'll see a little bit of ups and downs from the rest. I think we've seen that with Memphis lately. I think they dropped one just the other night. Alabama, I feel like, is a little bit all over the place, or can be, but man, their offense is always good and they play with such freedom. Texas A&M is not had as good of a start to this year, as I feel like they were picked preseason. They have Wade Taylor as the preseason SEC Player of the Year. But I do think that they'll continue to get better, and they're always going to be a tough team to beat. And South Carolina, I mean, I feel like they continue to improve themselves. I mean, that's a great win last night against Kentucky. It was one of those nights, though. Everything was going South Carolina's way, Guys that are shooting 20% from 3 or made, one guy at one point was 4-4. But they stepped up and performed on a big stage.
George,
Okay.
real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question. You mentioned Kentucky, Taylor, and obviously Big Z is back. It was his second game last night. I'm not even going to try pronouncing his name. But has that hurt them a little bit with him? He hasn't played a ton, but it's always hard getting a guy back into the swing of things. And I'm sure they'll be fine. They're still really good. But it feels like these last couple games with him, it's almost like it's been a little bit of a different looking team. Is that a coincidence, or do you think it is kind of tough when you do bring in? He could be their best player. I mean, they're so talented. I mean, do you think that's been a little tough for them to just kind of get him adjusted?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible. There's only so many minutes that go around. So when you add another guy to the rotation, minutes go down for maybe somebody else, and that can be hard for guys. But at the same time, he's been with their team all year. He's practiced, he's gotten reps. It's not like he just joined the team. I think the battle with Kentucky, and this is the way it's always been, is that you're going to get the best version of every single team that you play, because every team is going to be excited and ready to play and view this as the game of the year. And that's a tall order. That's the only time that South Carolina's basketball arena is sold out. So it's just there's a target on their back everywhere they go.
I didn't get to see it. How much blue mist was in there?
Not much.
Really?
Not much. Yeah, I was surprised.
Wow.
I didn't get to watch the whole game, but that arena was rocking.
Okay, last thing for me before I turn it to Kelly. In the last 2 weeks, Belmont has lost at Indiana State by 30, at home to Northern Iowa by 11, on the road at Bradley by 23, at Illinois State lost by 10. Okay, I can't remember the last time Belmont basketball has dealt with anything close to this. I know there's injury situations in it, but have they underestimated as a team what they're getting into in this conference?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think losing Jacoby Gillespie at around 16 points a game really hurts. And he's the guy that really is the most dynamic player. You know, Malik is super dynamic, Malik Dia, that is. But a guard that can make plays and go get a bucket when you need one is invaluable. And I think that's why, you know, the teams in the NCAA tournament that win national championships have those guards, because a lot of wins and losses can come down to that. Obviously, you know, this is a major step up, the Missouri Valley from the Ohio Valley. And there's really no nights off, and it's more physical. There's a whole different level of toughness, athleticism. But I got to give them credit. I really don't feel like the spirit of the team is down. I feel like these guys are sticking together. I really think that Coach Alexander does an amazing job. And I think they just got to continue to get better. They're young. There's some new guys. They're still coming together. And once they get Jacoby back, I really believe that, I mean, he's an X factor.
Yeah.
So I think that's really hurt him.
By the way, Murray State hadn't exactly lit the world on fire either. I watched them Sunday get beat up pretty good at home by that Indiana State team. Kelly, what do you got for Taylor?
Well, I was just thinking, man, you're a younger guy, and we've talked, I've talked a bunch about the transfer portal in football, but like, put yourself in a coach's shoes right now in this new age of college sports and college basketball. And what do you have to do with this transfer portal? Like, what would be your means of operation? Like, how do you attack the transfer portal? Because you might have a kid that plays really well, but for some reason he wants to leave, and you kind of build things around him, and then he's gone. So how do you, like, I don't know. As a coach, man, I sit around and think about, like, how do I adapt to that situation? How do you do it?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think right now people are still figuring it out. You know, when I entered into Louisville and became on staff there in 2018, NIL and the transfer portal didn't exist. And exiting there in 2022, they both did. And I remember it was weird. You know, our last year there, it felt like we were recruiting the players that were already on the team, because, oh man, now I can go anywhere and maybe, you know, get some money. Like, this is a whole new world. So it is really hard, because especially like if you're at a mid-major level, you know, you're not paying guys 70, 100, 150 grand, you know, but somebody else might if they have a great year and the player of the year in the ASUN or the OVC or wherever. So I think that you really have to evaluate well. I think that at a mid-major level, you can get some diamonds in the rough out of the high school recruiting classes, because some guys are being under-recruited because most people are relying on the portal. I think if I was in it, I wouldn't want to just go portaling all the time. I would still want to have a high school class to build upon. And if we lose a player to the portal, that's when I would want to take one from the portal. But you really have to be really smart, because, I mean, if you look at Arkansas, you take a ton of transfers like I would want to do a lot of homework. At the NBA level, I remember NBA scouts would come around all the time and ask about guys and their habits and do they, what are their classroom habits? What are their eating habits? I'd want to do the same research as much as I can for transfers, because you want to make sure you're bringing in guys that are going to buy into what you're trying to do. So it really does boil down to good evaluating. And then, you gotta make guys come together. You got to be willing to change maybe how you play defensively or offensively based on what you have. And more than ever, that's year to year.
Yeah, that's a good answer, man. I just I sit around sometimes and think about, like, I don't know if I'd want to coach in today's climate with college. And I truly believe Nick Saban, that probably nudged him out. I know that he had a tough year last year, but that probably nudged him out. So I just thought, since you were younger and you're in that, because I'm an old guy, I'm kind of an old school guy. I know you got to change, but okay. My next question is, Billy kind of took it, but you're really high on Kentucky. You think they're really good, but what does that? Is that what they call him, Big Z? I mean, can he elevate them to where they need to get, do you think?
Yeah, I actually thought that they were really good and could win a national championship before he came into the scene. I mean,
Okay.
I don't think that you win a national championship because of a guy like him. I don't think he's Anthony Davis, and also Anthony Davis had a lot of good players around him. But I think that their guard play is so good. I think that they play so fast. I think they have a lot of guys that can score. Antonio Reeves is experienced guard, and he gets buckets. He can really score. Rob Dillingham he's a microwave. He might go for 30 any given night. Reed Shepherd knows how to play. He's got great instincts. He's the best three-point shooter in the entire country. I think he's shooting 55% from three. They got Aaron Bradshaw, who's now gaining some experience at a big position, and he's played well. And then you got DJ Wagner, who's a dominant ball handler, downhill driver. Like, they're just really good. I think they're super talented. I think they can make shots, and I think they're playing a style that can allow them to win. For them, it's all about defense. I think I've said this on here before. They're young. They're learning how to play defense. You don't really play defense in high school. You gamble and you take risks to try to get steals for breakaway dunks. That hurts you a lot more in college than it helps you. So I think they're figuring out, okay, how do we stick together on the defensive end? And then the glue to it all is Trey Mitchell. That dude plays so hard. He's experienced. Apparently, he's just an amazing leader, and you can see it out on the floor. So I just think they have all the pieces that they need.
So I'm going to ask this question for George and Billy, because they're always talking about it. And you know where I'm going with this out on West End. Can he turn that thing around out there? Because it doesn't look like he's got great players right now. He might have one or two. But can he turn that thing around, or is it time that he needs to probably be gone?
I don't think I have the answer for that. I do believe that I believe more than ever in college basketball that any team can win any game on any given night. And so I think that they can win. I think that they really can. I think that they got to learn how to put 40 minutes together. I think they go on stretches. And I think they got to figure out how to put 40 minutes together. They tweak their lineups a lot. And I think that they just got to learn how to trust one another and how to play 40 minutes of basketball the way that he's asking them to do so. Because I do think he can coach. I really do. And that's a hard league. And it's not getting any easier. I think Tennessee at home and then at Auburn, that's tough.
So my last deal is this. Talk a little bit about Lenny Acuff's team over there at Lipscomb. I'm obviously close to that team. You've been high on them. They got – I don't know if you saw the game the other night, but Central Arkansas hit 19 of 31 threes. I've never seen that before in my life. And me and my wife are sitting here watching the game, and I'm like, they cannot keep this up for two halves. But guess what? They did. Every time Lipscomb got close, they would hit 2 threes, and they would get it to 6 again. So it was just it was unbelievable. So what's going on with Coach Acuff's team?
Yeah, that's a tough one. They caught a really talented team on a bad night for them. I think, that can happen. But I think they're going down to Florida. I think they got Florida Gulf Coast and Stetson. They go back down to Florida for North Florida, I think.
Yeah.
I think that they're playing well. Will Pruitt didn't play the other night. I'm sure he'll be back. Tough kid. That's their leader. I think that they play really, really well together. I'll say that over and over again about them. You know, they've been without the preseason player of the year in the A-Sun, or I think Jacob was, but they've been without him all year, and now he's redshirting. And because of their culture and how connected they are, they're like an exception, not the rule, I feel like, these days, where they have experience and they're really connected. That's why they win. They know how to play. They don't run plays. They have concepts, and they know how to play the game. And they play well together.
Taylor, we got Alabama and Auburn tonight. This rivalry has turned, I mean, because if you go back 10 years ago, you know, neither of these two teams were even in discussions for the tournament. You know, now two great coaches with Oates and Pearl. Auburn is 7 in the net. Alabama is 9. So this is a huge game for these two teams. Do you give either of them an edge? It is at Alabama, but what do you look at for this one tonight?
Yeah, I think home court advantage is real, especially in a rivalry game. I think that place will be rocking. I do think Alabama will win this one. I do think Auburn's really good, though. I saw them in person, like I said last week. They're huge. They have size, they have experience, and they're deep. I mean, they play 10 guys. So, and they can get hot in a hurry. They've got some guards that are good, and they got guys that are bought into their role. I was impressed by that. I really was. Guys that were playing for one another. So I don't know. It's a rivalry game. It's at Alabama. Usually in those games, I think the home team's going to win.
Taylor, I'd like you to send this stat to Ross Boss, your dad. Since 1967-68, no coach has ever been retained when winning 2 or less conference games in the SEC in their 5th season or beyond.
All right. I'll send it to Ross Boss.
You send that to Ross Boss. By the way, the Preds are home next Wednesday. This is your invitation. Would you like to go?
Next Wednesday. What is that? Is that the 31st?
It is.
I'll call you tomorrow.
Yeah.
With my answer.
I can see your excitement.
I'm very excited. Yeah. They're on the playoff cuff, right?
They are right on that 8th and 7th slot.
What's your prediction? They're going to finish strong?
I think, let me say this. I think they're going to play really meaningful games in April.
Okay.
Now, does that get them in? I don't know. It is not going to be easy. But are they good enough? I think they are.
There you go.
Talk to you.
All right. Appreciate it. See you guys.
Taylor Barnette. SEC basketball talk. Kelly, remember you heard this. Okay. He looked at all of the things that Kentucky has.
Yeah.
Here's what they don't have. They never have a coach who can out X and O you. If he can out talent you, he will. When he won the national title at Kentucky, he simply out talented everybody. He is a tremendous recruiter. But if you're looking for him to ever X and O them to victory, have a nice life.
I'm going to ask him one day. Hey, you know, talking about Kentucky, you know that Couchy got inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. Did you know that?
No. How recently?
I think he just now found out. He was on the Paul Feinbaum show yesterday, and I texted him today, and I told him congratulations. He's going in with Warwick Dunn, Randy Moss, some pretty big names.
You and I will talk later. Let's get him on next week.
Absolutely, we can.
Okay, we'll go to the break, and we got more to yap about, so stick around. The George Plaster Show is Nashville's best sports talk, 2 to 4 p.m. Monday through Friday on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. There's a podcast version available on Spotify and Apple Podcast.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom-cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen-printed T-shirts, laser-engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hard-working team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. Okay, we are back. Billy, I want you to jump in here as well.
Okay.
Would we all assume at the moment Bill Belichick wants to coach again, right?
Yep.
Would we all assume that right now the best option seems to be Atlanta? Would we all buy that?
Correct.
Okay. So according to reports, his second interview with the Falcons was last Friday. Would we all agree that on the surface, it sure has seemed like Arthur Blank really wants Bill Belichick? Do we agree on that?
Correct.
Yep.
So what's the hang up?
I don't know. That's what I was going to ask you. If his last interview was Friday, what's he waiting on?
Well, I mean, do we really trust Arthur Blank? I mean, I don't know the guy. You know, he doesn't necessarily have a track record of hiring great coaches. So, we talk about ownership problems. You know, maybe there's one in Dallas. Who knows? Maybe there's one in Nashville. You know, maybe there's one in Atlanta. You know, how do people like Arthur Blank? Is he well liked? You know, with the fans? I don't know. I would have thought they would have already hired Bill Belichick, but I mean, they're interviewing Mike Vrabel today, so I don't know. And they kind of at the same time started this at the same time as the Titans, so I don't know. I would have thought. I still think Belichick's the guy. I don't know. Maybe they're getting some cold feet down there or something.
Yeah, it's hard to know. First of all, the Falcons have been to a Super Bowl in the last, whatever it is, 6-8 years, when they gagged in the second half to New England and lost time. They did kind of gag. So, I mean, they have proven, at least when he hired Dan Quinn, to be able to get to the upper levels. Recent hires, not so much so. I'm wondering if old Bill went in and gave him one of those, we're on to Cincinnati, where he basically said, look, here are my rules. Here's what I want. It's exactly what I had in New England. Because it would seem to me that something has caused, on one end or the other, cause for pause. I mean, if they knew that Bill was the right guy, if they knew in Friday's interview, what are they waiting for?
Well, we got a comment from Don here. He says, my guess is Bill is asking for more power than the GM is comfortable with. I think I think he's got a valid point there. I mean, if you're Bill Belichick going into Atlanta, you know, you'd like to have some power, right? I mean, you'd like to be able to go in and do what you want to do. That could be the case.
Well, I would slash the word GM and put the word owner.
Yeah.
Because this is clearly an owner-driven infatuation. And if there is a four-corner stall going on, it doesn't have a damn thing to do with the GM. It has to do with the owner.
Yeah.
Think that if Bill wants to coach again, though, I don't think I know we all know the success that he's had, but times change. And the last couple of years, he's had no quarterback, and he's not been very good. The last 2 or 3 years, he's been really bad. So, you know, I think he was without Tom Brady for 3 years in a row, and they weren't very good. So, you know, he's 71 years old. We all know his track record. We all know that he's won all these games. But, I mean, is he in the situation now to go in there and strong arm folks? Because I would think that him getting the most wins in NFL history would be a goal of mine. So I don't know if I can go in there just demanding because I still want to coach, you know? So I just don't know. I don't know how that works. I don't know how he feels. I just go by what he said in that press conference when they were, you know, going their separate ways in New England. Says, I don't really have to be in charge of everything. So that's kind of what I'm thinking, but I just don't know if he goes in there and acts that way, or if he says, "Hey, y'all can have whatever. I just want to coach football."
Billy, one of the things that's changed years ago, all these coaching searches were very clandestine. You know, you'd meet somebody in Bismarck, North Dakota. There's an old line about Roy Kramer meeting Mike Krzyzewski, who was the coach at Army, you know, halfway to the North Pole, so that nobody would find out. Now, everybody rushes to tell you, we've completed our interview with such and such. So with that in mind, the only place we know of that Billy Boy has interviewed is Atlanta. Are y'all surprised if that is true?
I'm not. I said it earlier, you know, when we talked about Belichick, I just don't think there's as much, receptivity. I don't know what the right word is there, but I don't know if there's that many organizations that are clamoring for him. You know, I think, you know, we talked about his age. We've talked about the Patriot way. I think Atlanta's the best fit. Like, I don't think he necessarily fits out west. You know, he already killed one quarterback's career, Mac Jones. You know, I think if you're the Chargers, you might be scared he may, you know, ruin Justin Herbert too. So, but if you're Atlanta, you can start new, you know, bring in a new quarterback and start fresh. But yeah, I just don't know that there's too many organizations really clamoring for Belichick.
I think there may be an intimidation factor there too, because I would think that he would be tough to deal with at times. And I think that, you know, everybody's just what they've seen over the past 25, 26 years of his. I mean, it may be intimidating for some people to talk to Bill Belichick. I mean, that may be the case. I don't know. I don't. Obviously, I would think more. I know this. I believe that every team that was vacant of a head coach, I believe they discussed him. And then I believe everybody went around the room and they say, well, we think, he doesn't fit here. He doesn't fit here. Okay, we need to try him. And I think, if you're Atlanta, I think he presents everything that you want there because he's got experience and they've got a really good team. They just need a quarterback.
One of the things I've brought up, Billy, is, for instance, in Atlanta, it's been a while since we've seen them on things like Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football.
Yep.
But the minute you hire Bill Belichick, all of a sudden, man, you've got a media circus created. If you're looking for attention for your franchise, hiring him does it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I said, maybe Carolina is another fit for him, on the East Coast. I feel like they're an awful team, but I think Atlanta's in that sweet spot of, okay, you feel like you're close, but you just need that quarterback. Question is Bill Belichick the guy to get you over the hump, with whoever quarterback they do go with? That's another big question. They don't have that quarterback answer right now, and you could argue the Titans are in a better spot with at least, a semblance of hope. And you've seen it out of Will Levis. You really haven't in Atlanta. So there's still some questions, even though I do think Belichick would be a good fit in Atlanta.
Ironically, Kelly, Seattle has been, in my mind, the most quiet search.
Yeah.
You've heard virtually nothing out of there, but it would be very hard for them, even if they wanted to go Belichick at 71, because you just forced out Pete Carroll at age 72. And Carroll, by all that know him, people person, great shape, an Energizer bunny. It'd be hard to explain that one in Seattle.
I just can't see that. I don't know. What are all the searches like, Billy? Do we know like who do we think's going to Carolina? Who do we think's going to Seattle? Where's all that heading? Do we know?
Well, like I said, it's kind of a big mix. Carolina is still kind of shifting their GM, around. They just brought in a new guy. Vrabel apparently is going to interview with Carolina. So I think Vrabel, all of a sudden, we talked about there's no buzz for him. I think all of a sudden he's in there in Atlanta. He's in there in Carolina. So I think Vrabel, Belichick, it's almost, to me, guys, I don't know if Belichick's interviewed in Carolina yet, but it's almost like, okay, if you're Carolina, would you rather have Vrabel or Belichick? And if you're Atlanta, would you rather have Vrabel or Belichick? But yeah, Kelly, I'm kind of with you. Like, I don't think there's any, this could go on for another week or two with, who are the Panthers going to hire? I mean, Dave Canales has been out there, in Tampa. Does he leave? So I don't know. I mean, there's really, this year has been different than others, George, in that you really just, after these interviews, you just got to kind of wait and see.
If I were involved in going after Carolina, I would be interviewing that owner as much as he's interviewing me, because on the surface, there's some stuff about him that worries me. When an owner starts throwing beer at people that are yelling at him, I don't know. I mean, Carolina should be attractive because you got a good young quarterback, but the good young quarterback really didn't show up at all. And I bet that's got people running a little scared.
Because I talked with one of my coaches, and he's like, have you seen how, because Baker Mayfield's not a big guy, but he's thicker. Like Russell Wilson's not a tall guy, but he's thicker. And my former coach was like, "Have you seen Bryce Young?" And I said, "I've never been next to him." He's like, "You're talking about a small dude, man. He's not big at all." And even Tom Moore said something about his stature, man. I've always thought the kid was really good, but like he's got to have it's totally different being at one of the top programs in college to going to the pros where everybody's going to whip your butt if you ain't very good, and you're going to find weaknesses of every team. And they were kind of like the Titans. They didn't have anybody up front. I thought they were pretty good on defense. So when they came to the Titans and played, I thought defensively they were pretty good, and they've got some things to work with. But man, you got to have people up front. You got to, especially with him not being a big guy, you've got to keep people off of him. And I don't know. I think people go in there and look at that and say, well, maybe we don't have the guy that we need that is consistent, that's going to be able to take the punishment of the National Football League. So maybe that's not everybody wants to be a head coach, but maybe that's not such a great gig.
Well, and guys, I'll add this too, George, real quick. The Titans got their top guy, Brian Callahan. You gotta start thinking, okay, how high on the list was Callahan in Carolina and even in Atlanta? Again, I mean, I don't know, but maybe they're starting to think, okay, Titans got Callahan, mark him off. Let's go down the list now. I don't know if that happened, but I think the Titans hiring Brian Callahan first out of all the other openings might have kind of had them switching things around in their head.
I just went to ESPN to see if there was anything they're reporting that's new. And right now, it's all in the defensive coordinators. Vic Fangio, highly respected, out in Miami. The rumor is Philly, but boy, if I'm the Titans, he'd be one on my list. The other one, I'm not as wild about. Joe Barry out.
Joe Barry, yeah.
Packers defensive coordinator. This is one that people have speculated on for months. So
I thought they did. They ended up the season pretty good, though. I mean, they went to the division round of the playoffs, and that defense was pretty good. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. All behind closed doors, and what all happens and what all goes down, you just never know.
Well, look, this is just one person's opinion. Green Bay was the better team that night.
They were.
Win.
They were, but good for Brock. I'm glad for Brock Purdy, man. I really am, because if he would not have won that game, everybody would have been talking about Mr. Irrelevant. He can't play. That's a bunch of bull malarkey. I mean, the guy, it was pouring down rain. I wouldn't have played good either. Of course, there was a lot of games I didn't play good anyway. So, I mean, I'm just glad that because I think the kid is a ball player, and he has to have Deebo Samuel right now for some reason, but the guy can make plays, and he's at a really. But if he wouldn't have finished that game off and that's what you have to do as a pro. I mean, I've been through many games where I didn't play good, and there was one game I played against San Francisco where I played awful, but we had 2 drives left, and we scored on both drives, and we won the game in San Francisco. So that's what you have to do as a pro quarterback. When things are down, you have to pick your team up, and they had to win the game, and they did.
Our star of the game is Kelly Holcomb.
What's that?
I said our star of the game is Kelly Holcomb.
That's right.
Brock Purdy's in a tough spot. He can't win. That they win by a score. Okay, he should have done more. They lose, then it's definitely all on him. So he's in a brutal spot.
Seems very unfair. Speaking of unfair, we'll have stat of the day afterwards, and hopefully
bet of the day.
That's right. It is bet of the day. Plaster bet of the day. I stick behind these things that I put out there, Kelly.
You're not making anybody any money, though. That's for sure.
Not in January. January has been a tough month. We'll revive it, get it moving in a positive direction when we come back.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Trax machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. we're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
Final segment on a Wednesday. We got some more SEC basketball action. Preds not back in action until tomorrow. We'll see where George is going. But first, let's check out last night's results. UCF got a win.
Bingo.
They're doing pretty well. They're doing pretty well in their new spot in the Big 12.
They really are. Good for them, because this was a real question mark whether their basketball program could compete at that level. Looks like they can.
Well, they beat Kansas, did they not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enough said. So initially, Kelly, I had 2 picks for tonight. However, as you can imagine, during the timeout, I sift through a lot of data. And I have come to a third conclusion that I will share with you momentarily. Billy,
3?
Do what? We're doing 3.
You're doing 3?
Oh,
wow.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Billy, show them the first one.
Well, still trying to get the graphics pulled up. Hold on.
Oh boy. Well, what's up with the graphics, Billy? I mean, dude, like you've had like 24 hours to figure this out there, Hoss.
You might just have to verbalize these, George.
Okay. Here's where we're going. First up, I'm going to take an improving Georgia Bulldog program over Mike White, under Mike White, They are home tonight against LSU. If you really look closely, the SEC has really become a who is at home league other than Vandy. Billy, you buy that?
Yeah. I mean, you're at home. You're in a good spot because you're tough to beat.
Georgia is better than LSU. Georgia, to me, has been one of the pleasant surprises early on. I'm going Dogs -3.5 at home against LSU. I am using the same logic on the SEC probably has 5 or 6 games of the year in basketball. Both Tennessee-Kentucky games are games of the year. Same thing tonight when Alabama and Auburn get together. They hate each other. It doesn't matter. It could be tiddlywinks. They don't like each other. I'm going Bama for one reason and one reason only. Tuscaloosa.
They're at home.
They're at home. They will find a way to cover and win against Auburn. This will be a very difficult environment for Auburn to get through. If they do, look out. Bruce Pearl. Here's the other one. I'm going Big Ten on this one coming up. Right there. Now, I pay a lot of attention to Maryland because my buddy Kevin Willard is their head coach. That's Ralph Willard, formerly of Western Kentucky's son. So I've now seen Maryland 4 or 5 times, and here's what I've gotten out of it. They will guard the crap out of you. They are really good defensively. The same cannot really be said offensively, where they really struggle in the half court. Iowa, this is a team that can really shoot the basketball. And I think at home, they will cover the 5.5. And Kelly, at least 2 of the 3 are going to work.
You think so?
Yep.
Can we book it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's a book it. Okay. 2 out of the 3.
Yes.
Okay. You may go 0 for 3 tonight. You may go 0 for 3.
You'd love that, wouldn't you?
I don't know. I've just never seen you down like you've been down here lately, man.
Oh, lighten up. You know, it's early. 16 and 18.
I know it is early, but like I've never seen you have a losing record, and this has gone on for quite some time now.
Yeah, for 3 weeks. Billy, cut him off.
And you always say that you're making people money, but right now you're losing folks money. So stop.
No, we are. We are. In fact, look, in my pockets, there's not a shred of money in there. Hey, guys, tomorrow we'll get into the press conference. We'll kind of analyze what we hear, and hopefully we will get Wes Durham, play-by-play voice of the Atlanta Falcons. The problem is we got to reschedule because obviously in the 2:00 hour, we're going to want to hear from Brian Callahan. Billy, thank you. Kelly, thank you.
See ya.
Thank you all for joining us. See you tomorrow.
See you.